Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video, I wanted to show you guys what kind of watt hours per mile you can expect out of a Performance Model 3. This is a brand new 2021 Tesla Model 3 Performance. It's got, let's see here, 2,072 miles on it. And what I'm going to do is reset my odometer here. Reset. And I just stopped in a small parking area not far from my house, and what I'm going to do is just do some general driving around. Nothing on the expressway. I'm not going to be hypermiling it, but I'm going to accelerate just modestly and drive. It'll be the driving that I do will be between 30 and 55 miles per hour, and I'm going to end this loop right back here where I started in the same parking area. And let's see what kind of efficiency we can get. I'm not going to be hypermiling it, but I don't have the climate control on. I'll probably leave the window down, and I'll be driving at a modest speed. But this is just sort of a general idea of what you guys can expect from a Performance Model 3. So let's get to it. So why am I shooting this video? Well, it's in part because when I purchased this car, a number of my viewers said, well, goodbye good range. My last car was a long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3, and a number of my viewers said, well, now that you have a performance car, your range is going to be in the toilet. And so I wanted to see if that was the case. Now, I already drove this car quite a bit today. I had put 90 miles on it before shooting this video, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I just wanted to purposely set out to just do some general driving, and because today I had my AC on a little bit and I accelerated hard a couple times, so I wanted to go out and drive around without accelerating hard, without using climate control, and without being on the expressway, just general town-to-town driving to show you guys what you can expect. I can tell you that the efficiency of this car is, it's actually surprising to me. It is very similar to the efficiency that I was getting out of my long-range rear-wheel drive car when I was using my 20-inch wheels, and that's something that needs to be said. This car comes from the factory with 20-inch wheels and low-profile P0 track tires, so definitely not eco-friendly tires, and these low sidewall wheel and tire setups are definitely not good for efficiency. But yeah, let's see what we can get out of it. Now, bear in mind, if you guys are if you want to do this experiment with your own car, you're going to have to remember that when you first start out, your efficiency will be pretty poor. It was just up at 330 watt hours per mile, and because I just started this, and the first couple miles are always really horrific watt hours per mile, and then it settles into a much lower figure and begins to drop as you continue to drive. So I'll drive around, see what I can get, and report back in a few miles. Alright, so just shy of 10 miles in, and you can see I'm averaging 201 watt hours per mile. Now, what I've been doing here, and it's dropped down to 195 watt hours per mile, but that was because I slowed down using regen down a very long hill, so I regen some back. As I accelerate here, that's going to jump up over 200 again. But essentially, all I'm doing here is I'm doing everything gradually. I am accelerating gradually, and I'm decelerating gradually. Now, there's a joke in the hypermiling community that the best gas mileage modification you can do to your car is to adjust the nut behind the steering wheel. That would be the nut driver behind the steering wheel. And basically the key to getting good mileage, good range out of a car is to just do everything gradually, to minimize climate control, So use very little air conditioning or heat. I even have the fan turned off. Believe it or not, the fan does draw enough power to affect your range quite a bit. Now, I'm still below 200 watt hours per mile. I'm at 199 watt hours per mile at 12.6 miles in. And so we'll keep driving here. But one of the things that I've learned over the years of driving is that inertia, you want to let inertia work for you, or you want to work with inertia. So you want to minimize any kind of drastic change in direction, any kind of momentum alteration you want to minimize. So you want to minimize turning too sharp, accelerating too hard, decelerating too rapidly. You can see I'm climbing at a mile per hour every couple seconds or so. It's 45 mile an hour speed zone here, so we'll maintain at 47 for a while. So you just want to minimize anything drastic. If you corner sharp, you're going to get tire scrub on the pavement, which is going to lose inertia. If you accelerate too hard, you use more power. If you decelerate too hard, even if you're using regen, there is some waste energy in regen, and if you let off the accelerator and regen too hard, what will tend to happen, couple things. One, you do get some tread squirm on the pavement. Number two, you generate heat through resistance through the wiring and the inverter and the motor. So it is a more efficient power transfer to the battery by regenning a little bit more gradually. So I'm definitely not hypermiling. I'm going 3 miles over the limit right now. Of course, I have a car glued to my bumper because everybody wants to go 10 over, but I've been averaging between 2 and 5 miles over the speed limit through this entire drive. I'm at 199 watt hours per mile, just shy of 14 miles in, right at 14 miles in. So I'm not going to drive, 100 miles like this, but I'll keep driving a little bit and see where we end up at. Also, if you want to learn more about driving efficiently, there's a forum that I used to be a member of called EcoModder, the EcoModder online discussion forum. That's for guys that modify their cars for economy, and I learned a lot about efficient driving dynamics through the EcoModder discussion forum. So, yep, I'm going to keep on driving, and I'll check back with you guys in a few more miles. All right, so here I am back where I started, and I've gone 18.4 miles and used 4 kilowatt hours for an average of 193 watt hours per mile. Now, a couple things, full disclosure here. The lifetime mileage, 2,091 miles, I've averaged 260 watt hours per mile. So I don't drive this efficiently all the time, but you can see what's possible. In fact, I know I could have gotten down into the 180s watt hours per mile if I really worked at it. What brought this up was that today, after my work day, I had driven 70 miles. I had averaged 222 watt hours per mile, and I thought, wow, I wonder how efficient that I could make it, because I did accelerate a little bit today. I was using the air conditioning. I was on the highway a little bit. So I wanted to shoot this video and see what kind of range I could get. I know we only did 18 miles, but it's getting dark, getting tough to film. What's really fascinating is here on the energy graph, you can see that this solid line, not the line at the 300, but below it, that is the rated, that would be the rated range, the rated watt hours per mile. And you can see the dashed line, that's what I was averaging, which I've got it set for 15 miles there. This is a 15 mile of driving graph, and you can see I averaged 180 watt hours per mile. Now, the reason that that's different than the 193 is because if you remember at the beginning of the video, I mentioned the first couple, 2 or 3 miles, your range is pretty poor. And so after those first few miles, your range, your watt hours per mile drops. So if you lop off the first 2 or 3 miles, then you can see the last 15 miles of driving. was 180 watt hours per mile, but again, 193 was my average through this drive. Had I continued to average 180 watt hours per mile, I would have another 327 miles of range, and I only have 74% battery left. So with 74% battery, I could go another 327 miles. Not bad. Now, if I switch this to 30-mile range, you can see my average is 216 watt hours per mile. And today's drive was here. This is right where I started. You can see that the first few miles aren't the greatest, and then it settles in. But then earlier today, I was having some fun with it, getting on it a little bit. But still, over the last 30 miles of driving, I averaged 216 watt hours per mile. So, interesting stuff. So, I guess what I'd like to communicate to you guys in this whole exercise is to let you know that just because you have a performance car doesn't mean that you are relegated somehow to horrible range. Now, I recognize the fact that you buy a performance car because you want to have fun with it, and I do. As I showed you before, my watt hours per mile, lifetime watt hours per mile is 260. My average watt hours is 260 for the life of the car because I have gotten on it a few times. I've had a lot of fun with this car. But I've had a number of people online that have made statements like, oh, I've had my car for 60,000 miles, my performance car, and I've got 340 watt hours per mile, and you know, good luck getting 300 miles of range out of the car. It's never going to happen. Well, yeah, it can, and if you're driving modestly, you will. Now, here's the thing. If you are on the expressway going 75 miles per hour, using the air conditioning, yeah, you're going to be up at 300 watt hours per mile or a little bit more. We had a couple days that were up near 100 degrees and humid, and I was cranking the air conditioning all day long, and I was seeing 290 watt hours per mile. But again, I go back to my lifetime is 260. On my last car, in 111,000 miles, I was averaging 234 watt hours per mile through that entire lifespan of the car. The biggest thing that affects your range is the type of wheel and tire. It's not the hubcaps. The 18-inch aero wheels and tires, you're not getting good range because of the hubcaps. That is not it at all. It's the 18-inch wheels with the tall sidewall and the Eco tread, but it's mostly the 18-inch wheels with the tall sidewall. The taller the sidewall, the less sidewall flex you get per amount of contact patch squish. So when you have shorter sidewall, to get the right contact patch, you have to squish the sidewall quite a bit, and that it creates drag, it creates friction. So aside from that, as I mentioned earlier in the video, just accelerating gradually, decelerating gradually, not cornering hard. Those are the things that will give you good range. The fact that you have a performance car, a lot of people think that the dual motors and it's a different motor in the rear and different inverter and you're just going to get horrible range. That is not true at all. And that was what I was hoping to demonstrate in today's video. That if you drive it modestly, you will still get exceedingly good range. We will be taking this car on an out-of-state trip coming up in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait to see the difference on the highway between this car and my previous rear-wheel drive long-range car. But, you know, I'm not telling you don't get on it and don't have fun. Yeah, have fun with the car. Have fun with it. But, you know, don't think that you're going to be seeing only 200 miles of range out of your 310 or 315 rated mile range Performance 3. That's not the case at all. If you're flooring it everywhere with the air conditioning on, yes, you'll have poor range. But just, you know, try it out for yourself, see what you think. In case you're wondering, my tire pressure is 43 PSI, so which I've never adjusted the tire pressure since I picked up the car from Tesla. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I really do appreciate all of you. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments section below. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye now.